Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video. So an interesting one here, we have an audio excerpt from the Dawn of Yangchen. I'll straight away say, I don't think it's anything too significant. It's like 2.5 minutes and there's nothing super insightful, but we'll go through it. And then there is also a new Funko Pop reveal. We'll quickly go over the Funko Pop first. Just so we can get that out of the way and focus on the bigger topic. So this new Katara figure has just been completely revealed. I thought it was just leaked initially, but as you can see here, it's up on at least the Funko Europe website to buy. It seems to be in stock right now. You can see here, it's a glow-in-the-dark and special edition, and then I believe it's also metallic as well. So it's all in here on this. Now, it's an interesting one because as you can see here, it's okay, Katara with her hair down, but you look at the outfit, and it's very clearly Book 1 Katara. That's the Book 1 Katara outfit. You can tell by the fact that you can see the sleeves there are long, and then you can also tell by just the way the kind of skirt part of her outfit kind of works. It's only like that in Book 1. So they've done a very specific figure here of Book 1 Katara with her hair down. When does that even happen? And I think what they're going for here is Katara at the very end of the fight against Paku in the Waterbending Master. Now, the problem with that, there's two inaccuracies with this. One, she gets, her hair comes down in that fight, right at the end. The fight is basically over when her hair is down. She's kind of knocked aside, her necklace comes off, setting up the sort of, the plot progression of the fight. Well, Paku then imprisoned her in the ice. So she never fights back when her hair is down, and she doesn't have the necklace. So it means that the water effect part here with the hair is inaccurate, as is the hair being down and her also still having the necklace. So very weird one here in terms of why are you doing this? Why wasn't this just Book 3 Katara? That way it's a hair down Katara and you can just do a normal whatever you want one. Well, because you went very specific with it, you open it up to it being inaccurate because it seems like it's trying to depict something. Otherwise, it seems like a kind of almost needless variant to just do hair down Book 1 Katara. Are we stretching things that far already? I don't think we need to. So the main thing with this is that it likely just means that we're, I suppose, getting close to seeing and finding out about the next wave of Avatar Funko Pops, which have been teased. 3 months ago, some rumors went up about what to expect next from Avatar Funkos. So you can see here they're teasing a Katara variant, Sokka variant, Toph variant, and more. A painted lady glow-in-the-dark. A 6-inch boy in the iceberg, Aang, glow-in-the-dark. And a Momo flocked. So, very interesting stuff here, in that it's a weird selection of, painted lady. Okay, Momo getting his own one, that's nice. Big boy in the iceberg to go with the Avatar State one that we got. And then, we'll see if the Katara variant is just this one and what they do with the others. But, hopefully soonish we get what we're kind of waiting for. But, like I said, let's go into the audio excerpt. So I have it open here. Let me get this back to the start. So like I said, it's only 2.5 minutes. I'm going to pause to comment probably once or twice through this, just because I'm always very cautious about copyright. So I want to make sure I'm actually doing commentary on this. I should be able to just play it normally because it is a preview, but you can't be too cautious.
Making ready. Kavik waited for her behind the hospital in the circle of trampled grass. Were all of those people from Bin-Er? He asked Yangchen once she emerged. He sounded calm in the way one had to force.
Okay, so straight away you can see there, okay, it's the start of a chapter, but a chapter that seems quite a bit into the book where Kavik has already been introduced, whereas we know she only meets him on her mission. He's her informant. So clearly quite a bit has happened before this. So this seems to be, at the very least, probably 5-6 chapters into the book. if not more. It's still, my takeaways, it still feels like somewhat early on, but you can see they're mentioning Bin-Er, so they've experienced some stuff happening in Bin-Er, and we'll go on from here.
Most of them are, Yangchen said. Sneaking out of the city without clearance usually means foregoing enough provisions or the right knowledge to make it safely to the air temple. We have to patrol the surrounding areas on our bison to pick up the lost and stranded. You get turned around in these mountains and, well, what's gonna happen?
Okay, so we basically find out that they've basically just come out of Bin-Er or just experienced something happening there. They're on their way to an air temple. We don't know which one it is yet. But it's obviously one that has to be somewhat close to an Earth Kingdom town, Bin-Er. So people are illegally leaving Bin-Er, and it's so desperate that they're not bringing enough supplies with them because it's sort of in and around an air temple. It's mountainous, and so a lot of people unprepared. But the airbenders in the region are helping these people. That's what we're exploring here.
What's gonna happen? He asked, pointing his chin back inside. Abbot Sonam will send another team to search for her child. There might turn out to be more to that statement. One could only hope. She took in Kavik's taut, uneasy stance, the weight he kept on the balls of his feet, as if there were an opponent he could fight in hand-to-hand combat for the fate of the missing boy.
Okay. So we find out that there is a missing boy. The implication seems to be that Kavik, I think we find out a little later in this, has saved the mother's life, I think. But he still wants to find the boy as soon as possible. So Yangchen seems to have a sense for like this happens often, I guess, or just understand the dynamics here in Bin-Er, whereas Kavik is a little bit unaware of this. But we'll go on.
If only it were so easy. You can't let it get to you, she said instead. Wrote. Words she'd heard throughout more than one lifetime. You saved someone's life. You have to hold on to the victories and let go of the defeats, or else you'll never sleep again. He stared at his feet, as if better wisdom were buried in the dirt. Come, she said, chucking him in the arm. I was going to show you around the air temple.
Okay, so that's what we get here. They've obviously experienced some pretty bad stuff happening. He, and I suppose Yangchen to a certain degree, feel they could have done more, and she is now going to bring him to the air temple. So, interesting one to know where this is. There was a mention before about it was an abbot and not an abbess, which from the other excerpt we have it specifically noted that they do use abbess. So are we more closer to the northern and southern temple here than we are like east-west? Or, you know, is this just an abbot who happens to be from the western or eastern? It depends on how strict they want to be about sort of high up people in temples, and is it only the women in the east and west and stuff like that. So we'll find out. I assume they'll clarify quite early on in the book whereabouts we are here, but it feels like we're leaning away from this being maybe close to the western air temple, but it might still work out that way.
You need a few stories to tell your parents. I thought I was staying down here. I'm allowed on sacred ground? You're the Avatar's guest. You're allowed in a lot of places. Step back a bit. Yangchen distanced herself before curling her tongue, pursing her lips, and letting out an ear-piercing whistle that started low and went higher and higher, to the point where a human could no longer hear it. A gigantic shadow grew around Kavik's feet. He warily leaped out of the way in case the noise had dislodged a chunk of snowpack or a boulder above them. No landslide came. Instead, Yangchen's sky...
So in case you missed it as it trailed off there as the preview ended, it just basically ends on literally the note of Yangchen Sky Bison, and then we don't find out what happens next. I'm wondering if literally the next word was going to be the name of her sky bison, because I don't think we know what the name is. We know she has those two lemurs, like Pick and Pack, but we don't know what her sky bison's name is. So, that's what we get from that. I took a few notes because I've listened to this a couple of times now. So, chapter title is called Making Ready. So we find out Kavik, I know people were like questioning, like, oh, they didn't say like he or she in relation to Kavik, so is there something going on there? No, it's just that he's only mentioned twice in the description, so they referred to him by name. There was not much to that, so that's fine. So we find out that he wishes he could do something to help these people and find the missing boy specifically. It seems like he's saved someone's life in whatever just happened, and from context you can maybe get the sense that it was maybe the boy's mother that he saved. And then we do get Yangchen mentioning his parents. So I'm not sure if that's just some sort of like casual mention of like, hey, you can tell the people you know, or if he specifically has mentioned already his parents to Yangchen. Bin-Er is mentioned, so there's the kind of pronunciation for anyone wondering, obviously. So we find out about the idea of like, okay, people sneaking out of the city without clearance. They find themselves lost and stranded when they go outside because they're unprepared. Near an air temple is obviously a key point, and the air nomads find these stranded people to help them. So we find out Sana, something like that. One with a lost child, missing boy, of course, and then Yangchen wants to show Kavik around the air temple. We see that Yangchen does a bison whistle, so that's kind of nice, and her sky bison is about to arrive. So there's not a lot to necessarily read into here because it's very much just the opening 2 minutes of a chapter, and there's not much else to really say about it overall. It's good. Like I like that they're alluding to a few things here, and that like, okay, why are people so eager to get out of Bin-Er? Because I'm assuming this is probably from relatively early on in the book. So what's happening in this place? We obviously know the Shang merchants, are the ones trying to, in a way, make it independent from the Earth King. So is this about the weapon or what? I'm very intrigued by a lot of these things. But the other thing I maybe didn't mention is that there's a little bit of line of dialogue, and I'm not sure if it was just a little bit of maybe flowery language trying to describe the character's thought process, but they kind of alluded to the idea that like Kavik might want to like, he wishes he could fight the problem like barehanded, so maybe suggesting that he is our kind of not a non-bender, and she maybe is aware that he fights hand to hand or something like that, which is interesting because we have that quote from the calendar that references a sword specifically, so maybe it's not Kavik who's that character. But yeah, the only other thing is this is where I got the excerpt from the Blackstone Library. It finally confirms Nancy Wu is the narrator, which we didn't actually know before. And then 11.2 hours is the length of the audiobook. In comparison to the Shadow of Kyoshi audiobook, that's listed as 11.08 hours. So this one seems to be a little bit longer than Shadow of Kyoshi, but not significantly longer. I think we know that from the page count as well of the book. It's still going to probably be like, what, 80 pages less than Rise of Kyoshi, but it will be, I guess, a few pages longer than Shadow. So that should be pretty decent. But yeah, we're under 4 weeks away from the release of this book. I hope they do like an interview or something like that where they explain a little bit more, maybe confirm that there is going to be a second book. I'd like to see some of that stuff, because it's been weird to not really see much marketing ahead of the book's release. And as usual, with the audiobooks, we're still a few weeks out and there's still no kind of cover for the audiobook. So that's where that is. So in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on this interestingly oddly specific and potentially with some errors, continuity errors, Funko Pop for Katara. And then also, what are your thoughts on the audio excerpt from the Dawn of Yangchen? But that has been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.